Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi Live Noding. In this video, I will take you through to the basic example or introduction to how we can use animation nodes with Blender material, Cycles material, nodes tree. Um, I think I haven't talked much about it, but let's switch to Cycles render and go to compositing. Oh, actually, I did kind of use Blender Cycles material together with animation nodes and Vertex in the past, especially in terms of setting a vertex color and using the color attribute for each object to give a random color per object or per vertices. But I'm going to take a look at another few different ways we can do that. Okay, let's start with just a box. I don't know. I'm just gonna explore this idea. It's pretty basic, but maybe you don't know, and maybe it's gonna be useful for you. So we have this is animation nodes. This is Vertex. This is the compositing and texture. I haven't touched much of those two, but there's a lot of nodes. Since this is live noding and I love nodes and putting nodes together, I will start to dig into shader. So this is Cycles render, and let's use nodes. That's the default material for Cycles. And there's a lot of nodes here. Where should I start? I probably should start with the basic one, like color ramp. That's a good one to start. So this is gonna be AN Cycles Exploration 001. This is a color ramp node, and depending on the factor here between 0 and 1, we can give a different color to this object. And so let's plug this in. So in order to see the result, we need to turn on render. So as we can see, if the factor is 0, we get that value. If it's 1, we get this color. So between this, maybe I change it to red, and this maybe purple or blue. So depending on the factor, we can get a different color. That's really basic and simple. If we want to control this using animation nodes, we can use Cycles. There's a node called Cycles material output, and this guy can source any Cycles material, and then you see there's a drop down here. We can take a look at the nodes inside that material, and then hopefully we can control it using animation nodes. Not all of them can, but any attributes that has a input slot like this can be animated. And yeah, that's the basic idea. Color ramp is that nodes that change the color. So I believe, oh okay, I know why. So when we use this guy together with animation nodes, seems that we have this always deactivated somehow. I don't know what. I just found out about it today. But if we turn on this guy, we can get a, we can control this, the factor attribute of the color ramp of the material. Okay, we can use a random number, and the nice thing about this is we can debug we can see the number here. In cycle material, you don't have like a debugger. You can create it using, I don't know, maybe OSL and print out the output, but this is a lot clearer. Yeah, so we can randomize the value and we get the output. So lots of flexibility here. Color random diffuse. Also this changing the roughness. Material output, displacement. That's maybe not so important now. So that's how we can use animation nodes to control the cycle materials. And that's only the beginning. If we have a bunch of objects, now I created maybe 4 of them, 5. They are all using the same material, and with the same material we can still have different color. It depends. There are a few different ways, but we know it that each object can have multiple vertex colors, and that's one way we can colorize our objects. So if we, let's say, set vertex color, and that's gonna be per each object. The way we do it, you know, select these objects and group it. This is one way to do it. Objects from group. And then look through objects, and for each object I can randomize the color. If you want like let's say random color, maybe combine vector will work. Or actually this color, this is that kind of slot that requires color, which is for floating value including the alpha RGBA. So we need to do that. We need to provide that random. So we can use float list. Mix float list, not float. Create float. So with this we can have RGBA. Plug in there. Doesn't work. We need a converter. Convert. This plug in there. This plug in there. Now we can have random color, combine color. Well, it's not quite okay. Let's do it like this. Instead of okay, this is the combine color node, and this is really handy to generate color. I'm gonna do it real quick. Adjust V, saturation 1, value 1, and then random number. We can have random number, plug the seed index into the seed, and now we have random number generated for each objects. And plug into this guy, goes into each object, and each objects now have a different vertex colors, and they should have different color. They don't have different color because I haven't assigned it in the cycles. It's attribute color. So this name color. So at the moment, I think there's quite a limitations in how we can pass attribute for each object. This is the one way we can do it. The color, vertex color per object can goes in, and each one can be different. and it can comes in as a color or as a vector or like a floating value, which is maybe this is the average of the color, maybe I'm guessing. So this is random color generated by animation nodes. Obviously, I think I've done this in the past. Still pretty interesting to see this happening. If you want a more like a random color, rainbow color or spectrum, you can, instead of random number, you can just plug in the index. At the moment we have red, 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 because the index goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the order as well. Let's see if we divide it by the total number. Math. So multiply, divide by the total number. So we have like a spectrum of color. You can have more. Just now it wasn't updating. Now it's kind of doing it. If we can always debug the value, debug and check. Zero, 0.1, 0.2. That's like a 0. Yeah, that's all right. This is, yeah, that's I think that's working. There you go, like a rainbow color. It depends on this how we are sorting this guy, and we can always remap the value, you know, like a map range. If you do animation nodes a lot, spending like over 100 hours, you start to understand things better. So with this value go between 0 and 1, we can remap it into any other value. So that's really, really handy. So that's 2 ways we can pass in the data value from animation nodes into each object. There is also more. Just look. The AN developer told me that we can also use pass index. Pass index is probably related to compositing. I don't know yet, but each object in under this guy, I think, have a cycle setting. Custom properties. Maybe under material settings, there is a pass index, and this is an integer number. We can also use this pass index to kind of hack the numbers into each object, depending on what you want to do. I actually saw this example as well, adaptivesamples.com, and here he is using Python to randomize the index number for each object. Pass index, it says you can vary the materials for each object by using the objects or the material index. That's also can be handy. Material index, definitely some things I look in the future video. For now, let's see. Let's see how we can use the pass index. Let's reduce the number of objects. So give it a 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then pass index 17. Let's randomize it using animation nodes. Let's have a look. This is BPY data materials pass index, and then this there's also this the other one, relations, under relations. No, under layers. Oh, okay, this maybe this guy. Index number for the index OB render pass objects pass index. So this is, I think, the one that's Jack's look pointing. So instead of using the Vertex Color, this is really handy though, because this number is an RGB, but it also can be XYZ, and the number doesn't need to be between 0 and 1. It can be more. Actually, before we check the pass index, maybe we can use the color vector to drive our texture. Okay, instead of color ramp and instead of plugging the attribute directly, maybe we can use texture, like let's try noise or masquerade maybe. So by default, if I just plug it in, so per each objects get the same exact texture. We can randomize it many different way. I think vector is one way we can. Vector is a bit difficult. Probably the scale. So we can have different scale that can come from color. Yeah. Let's see. This is the color going in map range to the hue. Maybe we can just, use a big number. Color is a little bit difficult to see actually. Let's debug it. Let's have a look. So that's the color. This actually, in fact, is a 4 numbers, and it's hard to see what's really getting here. Vector. So we cannot plug in the color to vector. This is where actually the pass index can work for us. So let's do that as well. Just pass. We keep the color, but we're gonna use the pass object pass index. So object attribute output, and here we can easily plug the object here. So for each object's pass index, value has wrong type, so we have to plug in integer here actually. Maybe, okay, random number between 1 and 10 maybe, and each will be different. And let's debug the number 395, plug in the number there. This actually, it doesn't complain. So for each object, in fact, we already have pass index right here. It's random. I can randomize it from here, from animation nodes, and then go back to this guy. We could use the we can use object info. We can use this guy, object index. There's a material index and object index. This that can be handy. The material index especially. Plug in the object index to scale. Now you see we have each object has different value scale, and I can control it using animation nodes. See, I can randomize it. We have bunch of this guy and update it. See, we have quite an interesting variations. And since this is animation nodes, really, I feel like maybe we should arrange this properly, you know, do it in a more animation nodes kind of way. We don't need all those. If you want just a random cube in the grid, we already know what to do. So this is our master object. Let's name it master cube. Switch. Let's go back to animation nodes. Here, instead of group, we're gonna put in something else. Object instancer. Grab the master, and we don't need to copy full object or deep copy because we're gonna use the same material, but we randomize it inside cycles. But the random value is coming from animation nodes. Okay, I don't know how many instances yet, but we can use grid mesh for that. The number coming from the vertices, and so objects goes into the object list. Now we have this bunch of random value. This is like 25 different objects. There are actually 25 different objects on top of each other here. Let's arrange it using the grid vector list. Plug in the vertices position and object transform output it, and just turn on the locations and plug in the vector positions into locations, and we have our grid. Each one will have a different scale of Musgrave texture. Yeah, let's see. Hopefully this actually works. Yeah, there you go. So it's working. Yeah, it's working. So for the material, it's the same material for each object. Same materials where, let's see, let's use emission. So there you go. View from top view, maybe orthogonal. We just randomize the scale. I wonder what else we can randomize to get a more interesting look. Offset. You know, offset should work. I don't know. Maybe vector. Vector is more important. Yeah, I have to study the Blender cycles more. There's a lot in it, a lot to study. Maybe vector can come from this guy, not really. Yeah, I don't know. Vector is giving us that. Just for fun, let's just have 80 of them. That's 80 different boxes, and we can control it. We can randomizing the pass index, but that's just marking around. So yeah, so we can have something like that. It's quite interesting. Offset doesn't work, or gain, nothing, not much of difference. Maybe offset is not updating. No. Detail, dimension, maybe noise, noise can be easier. Object index, plug into scale, color. Noise and distortion. I think we can randomize further using the, maybe there's locations of each objects. See, I don't understand why we're getting that. Details, distortion. Yeah, it's a bit funky. Here we actually have object info and random. So per objects we can have random value. I think this is between 0 and 1. You can of course use this, but less control than if you are using animation nodes. So factor equals to strength. Oh yeah, that's interesting. The factor goes. Machinery. I think the lacunarity can be random also. So just plug in that to index and maybe mix it with random. Math. So we have control for that and that. Plug into lacunarity. Now it's a little bit slightly more random. Slightly more random. Do we have remap here? Mapping normal map. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of complicated. Random, maybe random can go into the lacunarity, and we have that. Maybe we can multiply this guy. Yeah, interesting. Offset, not much dimension. Detail. So yeah, that's pretty random, but interesting. Yeah. Anyway, that's just a video to show you like a quick introduction on how we can pass some values from animation nodes into Blender cycles. It's really basic, but perhaps it can be useful for you. So random can be less random. Sometimes random can be too random. If you have like closer value but slightly random, and now you start to get something that's, hey, that looks interesting, that looks natural, it doesn't repeat. And in fact, if I do it like this, you look at it and then, hey, I can use that for just to make your render looks more random and natural. Yeah, actually there's a lot, I haven't touched much of render cycles and then do a like production quality render, but I'm interested in this area as well. Yeah, cycles is interesting. Okay, so I'll see you on the next video. Thank you again for tuning in. If you like this video, you can leave like and comments anything. I will answer as much as